Please listen carefully.
Hello, universe, and welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Kristy Jansen.
And I'm Summers McKay.
And we have Amelia here, too, today.
Exactly. Hi, Amelia.
Good morning.
Anyway, three of us and more, we are part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to help make it one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy, but we're still kicking me off the podcast because the sound of packing is annoying-worthy podcast. Today is Tuesday, the 2nd of February, 2021.
Happy Groundhog Day.
Oh my gosh, you're right. It's Groundhog Day. That's funny. It's funny how things like that just kind of get forgotten, right, in this world. Okay, so this morning we did a sound check. I have people here helping me pack up all of my fragile items, and my house is a flurry of activity right now, and Amelia made the executive decision to kick me off the podcast. Also probably because I'm wearing a mask as well, because the people here who are working, we're all keeping one another safe. That being said, there's one teeny tiny headline that I'm really excited about, and it's almost like the writers know I'm moving to Austin, Texas. The headline says, Austin redirects police funding to buy transitional housing for homeless. Anyway, I know that's probably not what you ladies are going to talk about today, but thank you for letting me jump in and jump out, and I'm going to go on mute and pack some boxes.
All right. Well, Amelia, let's talk about Groundhog Day because I love Groundhog Day.
Do you love Groundhog Day or the Groundhog Day movie more?
Well, it's more the movie that makes me love Groundhog Day, but because I think that's one of my favorite movies of all time. It has it's a
really good one,
interesting message, and we've been living in Groundhog Day for this whole year. I feel like it's Groundhog Year because of the way that we're all staying in our houses, and every day feels the same. It's just like a slightly different version of the same day, and now I know how to start my morning at my home office way more effectively than when I first started this whole process.
It's funny because I actually read an article this morning that was somewhat to the effect of how to celebrate Groundhog Day when you're living in a world where every day feels like Groundhog Day.
Oh, really? Well, I think that's part of the zeitgeist then. So
people are feeling extra in the spirit this year. We are getting 6 more weeks of winter, though, I hear.
That's what I heard, yes. Poxitawney Phil came out. He saw his shadow. So. Well, how are you, Amelia?
I'm good. I had a really relaxing weekend. I got to go camping, which was awesome to just get off the grid and take a little mental break, but excited to be home with, running water.
Yeah. Always nice to be able to bathe.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was great. Yeah, I guess because you were not around yesterday. We did the pod without you. So, yeah, today is your Monday then, huh?
Today is my Monday. The Monday disconnect, getting back in the groove of things.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Even though it's Tuesday. But, Tuesday is just as good as Monday for starting the week, I think. No, I'm good. My weekend was wonderful. My Monday went well. And now it's Tuesday. And this week is flying by, just like all of the rest of them.
Well, what story did you want to talk about today?
I was going to talk, before we decided to kick summers off, we were talking about Austin.
But I actually did like that story personally, even though we were joking that we weren't going to talk about it because some of us wanted us to.
She's moving there, and it is a good story. The Austin City Council has voted to purchase the Texas Bungalow Hotel and Suites, which is, I think, it was a failing hotel in the town. They're spending $6.7 million on it, and it's going to become transitional housing for people who are experiencing homelessness. And the money that they are using for this purchase is actually redirected from the city's police budget. And I guess they had earmarked $129 million from the police budget for other social wellness initiatives in 2021. So this hotel is number 3 purchased by the city for conservation into temporary housing. And there's a couple others they bought last year, but the facilities will offer free housing to individuals trying to get back on their feet. And it's, in fact, this is a really good investment. I don't know if you have been following this kind of way of addressing the unsheltered population in different cities, but if you can get people into housing, it helps to improve their physical states, their mental states, and it's also cuts down in crime and other issues. And it's way cheaper than putting them in jail. So I think it's a nice story.
Yeah, I thought that one was cool because not only is it a really tangible way to redirect policing funds, a lot of times people say we need to reduce police budgets and redirect them, but what that looks like is not always super clear. And this is a really clear example of how you can effectively do that to promote societal wellness and reduce the instances of violence between police and the unsheltered. Because if you have people that are in these hotel rooms, they're off the streets, you're also reducing the instances of interactions between law enforcement and these individuals, many of whom really all they need is a place to land for a little while they get back on their feet. And this is a great way to offer that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed out, because unfortunately what happens with our police departments is they are the first call. They're frontline social workers often. And a lot of folks who are in these horrible situations where they don't have a place to go, or I mean, maybe it's not horrible, I don't know, but it's less than ideal. And so this is a way of using those funds in a way that will bring bigger societal benefits. I guess that's one story. What about you, Amelia? What story would you want to tackle? What else should we look at today from today's headlines?
Well, one that caught my eye immediately was the technique to help you read more books this year, because actually my friends and I decided to start a book club this year that we're doing over Zoom, mostly because we are all friends from college but have moved to different areas of the country since graduating. So this is kind of a way for us to stay in touch and also read a little bit more. So I just finished our first book for the month of January, which was called Midnight Library. It's super good. Highly recommend. But this headline caught my eye because actually sitting down to read is probably the most challenging part of being part of a book club.
Oh, no, but I love that. I want to do that, but I'm too old to join your book club, but I want to, that's a good idea. Because one of the things that I miss, I read a ton, but I don't have anybody to talk about them with, right? And I'm so stimulated by new ideas, whether it's through a nonfiction book or through, novels, which I feel like is how it's a way of understanding the world when you're looking at novels. I love that you're doing that.
Do a virtual one. It comes with so much less pressure because, especially while we're all at home doing nothing, it's really nice to flip open your computer and have a FaceTime. And
it's nice that it's small enough where you can actually, you are kind of beholden to each other, right? There's some accountability, but it's just, I don't know how many people are in your reading club, but it's probably not overwhelming. So it's not like you're joining Oprah's book club where you have 4 million people who are reading the same book, and you can't really talk about it with them, right?
No, it's about 6 or 7 of us. And then every month someone kind of proposes a new book that they've come across that they've heard is really good. And yeah, it happens pretty naturally. We have one friend who's a big reader that kind of spearheaded it, but so far the engagement has been good. I mean, we're only 1 month in, but I think everybody has read the book so far for January.
Okay, so what on this article, what are the guide story, the suggestions that we can just share with our listening audience?
Well, one was to read parts of nonfiction books. So they say 10%. For a lot of nonfiction books, they're broken down into more specific sections. So even if you pick up a nonfiction book on a big event, you can just read certain chapters that interest you to kind of get some more knowledge on the topic, and you don't necessarily have to read the whole thing.
And that's actually one of the things that I learned when I was in graduate school, is that you have to do that. And you don't have to read books linearly. I mean, that's what the table of contents and the index is for, is you can go right to the areas that are the most important for whatever subject you're addressing, whatever you need to really learn about. You don't have to read it cover to cover. I mean, sometimes you can, but it's not like a novel. And so I think that's a really good suggestion. And skimming uninteresting books. So, if you want to get a little bit of knowledge, you don't have to really dig in if it's boring or poorly written. You can still glean what it's about, even if you don't have to jump into it. And,
as a recent college graduate, I can attest to that strategy.
And just because you started a book, you don't have to finish it. I probably have about 7 books that I'm reading at the same time. And depending on my mood, I'll pick up one or another. But sometimes I end up getting 2/3 of the way through a book, and I can't bring myself to go back to it. And I think that is okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So
always make sure you're reading something that you really want to read, because if you only have 20 minutes in a day to read, make sure it's something good.
Exactly. This point makes the analogy between food, you're supposed to eat every single piece of anything on your plate because you don't want it to go to waste, but that is not our attention and our time are more valuable than, chugging through a book, right? Anyway.
Definitely. The last one is just to read more slowly. So I think a lot of times we tend to skim or rush through stuff, but reading more slowly lets you really immerse yourself in the story and take more out of it, which I think is valuable. And also reading without distractions, I find really helps me. If I'm reading and my phone is next to me, it's just a recipe for disaster. So kind of putting more dedicated time towards your reading and really investing in the experience of reading and only reading for whatever chunk of time you set aside to do that for.
I think that's really good. And that's also helps to enrich in that experience when you're actually, especially if it's a book you're really enjoying. For me, I definitely want to do more of that this year, where I lose myself in the novels that I'm reading and I just focus on that. Because
it's such a special experience when you're reading a book that is so engaging that you fully lose yourself in it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good suggestions. And I like that you chose that one. What else is on today's headlines? Because I guess that does it. Those are our two stories, right? Unless we want to talk about solving cybercrime.
Do you want to talk about solving cybercrime? I think that one makes you this morning.
That's a pretty good article. There's an international cyber team that took down the world's most dangerous malware. But Emotet, it's been described the most dangerous malware in the world. It skims people's data, it skims their passwords, and it gets in through like email phishing usually. But there's a joint effort between cybersecurity teams from 8 different countries, and they've banded together to solve this malware and clean it up across hundreds of international servers. The countries included the US, the United Kingdom, Canada, Germany, the Netherlands. This story just highlights the problem that cyber hacking and malware brings for us now that we're living a lot of our lives online. And local and federal governments are reliant on these kinds of data infrastructure, and they've become major targets for hacking and for, what's the one, the recent one that got into all of the federal government's servers and also some major companies. So anyway, this is a major issue, and I like that this international cross-country collaboration is starting to get serious and get busy and clean up at least this one piece of malware, which is Emotet, and there's more. So anyway, I just think it's an important thing to keep our eyes on.
Alrighty. Other stuff that we have on the Optimist Daily this morning, we have a newly discovered nano chameleon that fits on your fingertip, and that's a really cool picture to check out. It almost looks faked and photoshopped. This is how small this chameleon is.
And if you think about it, it's the size of an insect. It's smaller than some crickets that I've seen. So I wonder what it eats. You know what I mean? It must eat.
It's a good question. All right, we've got 3 ways to help hummingbirds survive the winter months. So if you've got hummingbirds in your backyard and want to give them a little support, 60 businesses make commitment towards greener transparency. Sleek Air Purifier uses a natural filtration system to improve air quality. That reminds me of Briv, that company that we interviewed a couple months ago. How to stay engaged in an overwhelming world. This project is turning PPE waste scraps into bedrolls for those in need. That one is cool because I know we've been seeing a lot of news about the byproducts of PPE and how those can pollute our environment. And in a major win for New York City street vendors, a new bill expands the number of permits, so allowing a little more leeway with outdoor dining in light of the pandemic.
And I love the picture on that one because the truck that they chose to photograph, it has the tagline, "Spreading the love one cup at a time." It looks like it's a roving coffee service. They give lattes and cappuccinos. And I like the idea of putting love in your cup of coffee, which is kind of what we're doing with the Optimist Daily every day, right? We're trying to have coffee with us. Anyway, that's it for today's Optimist Daily Update. Thank you so much for listening. We promise to keep sharing these positive, solution-based stories with ideas on how you can participate in the changing world and ensure that it is change for the good. We promise to keep covering current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and offering you the information needed most to chart new paths for all of us.
If you have the means, please consider becoming an emissary on theoptimistdaily.com. And for just $5 or more a month, you can support reader-funded independent journalism and be a part of the solution-changing consciousness and addressing our world's biggest challenges with a problem-solving mindset. Let's keep the Optimist Daily free to all who need it, supported by those who can. Thank you guys for listening today. We will be back tomorrow. And
thanks so much.
Have a great Tuesday.
Thanks, Amelia. And Summers, do you want to come back on? And
I am so sitting here stalking you guys, listening live while you're talking about your book clubs. I'm packing books. I got nostalgic. You guys are brilliant. Thank you very much. You have for stepping in for me.
And Amelia, while we're recording, I just want to see what you think about my idea to create a Discord channel where we actually can have some of our listeners participate sometimes.
I love the idea.
In the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, just watch us, and hang out and chat with us while we're recording the pod.
It's going to require that I am not just totally wearing pajamas and have bad bed hair, is what you're saying. I can commit to that. All right, ladies, thank you. Everybody have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.